Big changes at Volkswagen, point-of-care testing for COVID-19, and an innovative French way to 3D print personal protective equipment. Well, it's the summer of 2020, so you know we're going to be talking about COVID-19 and the environment. Volkswagen is in the news this week with a major management shakeup involving VW brand CEO Herbert Diess. Now, Diess has been replaced by Ralf Brandstätter, but he retains the title as head of Volkswagen Group. Now, multiple reasons have been postulated for this move, but most industry observers, well, they cite VW's difficulty in cracking the software development program for their upcoming ID.3 electric car. Now, it's also affecting their latest iteration of the evergreen Golf, which is now in its 8th generation. That's an important program for them. As many as 10,000 of the new electric hatchbacks have been produced, but they can't be released until critical software upgrades have been developed. Now, pre-COVID, VW had promised the first deliveries in the summer, and this deadline may still be achievable, although at this point no one knows if the vehicles will be delivered with fully functional software or a beta version that may be upgraded over time. Now, Tesla does this regularly with over-the-air updates for vehicle software. The stakes are very high for Volkswagen. Between now and 2023, the Volkswagen Group plans to invest almost 44 billion euros in electrification, digitization, mobility services, and autonomous driving, with 30 billion euros earmarked for e-mobility alone. Tesla is currently building their first European plant just outside Berlin, and both Ford and Volvo are taking orders for high-profile electric vehicles for the European market right now. 𝗘𝗡𝗚𝗜𝗡𝗘𝗥𝗜𝗚 just wrote an extensive article on this from a PLM perspective on engineering.com, reporting that by 2025, electric vehicles are expected to account for a quarter of VW's product portfolio. With the diesel emissions cheating scandal now behind them, EVs are a natural way to reclaim the brand, and for the ID.3 and upcoming ID.4 models, well, they must succeed. And as one of Germany's and Europe's flagship corporations, there's considerable political imperative for VW's success, especially with current trade relations with the US under strain. Now, VW has announced plans to manufacture the larger ID.4 in their big Chattanooga, Tennessee facility, and they've inked a deal with Ford for EV platform sharing, a deal which is rumored to include a light truck for the Volkswagen brand, a historical gap in the VW product lineup in America. The overall question is, will there be a market for all the new EV product arriving in showrooms this year and next? Well, we'll see soon. We're well into the first wave of the COVID-19 crisis worldwide, and the immunologists and the statisticians, well, they've been hard at work with this sort of planet-sized petri dish. Statisticians always worry about drawing conclusions from a small sample size, but when n equals 7.8 billion, the number crunchers, well, they've got some raw material to work with. Now, one thing we've learned is that massive economy-crushing lockdowns, well, they're a blunt instrument for dealing with a pandemic. With no effective treatment or vaccine yet, it's been the only technique available to governments worldwide, but it's clear that a massive increase in testing will be needed to get people out of their homes and get the economy moving again. Now, to do this without a huge second wave of cases, well, that's the question. The current testing method uses the classic sort of fixed-base laboratory strategy of swabbing the mucous membranes and sending the sample out for testing. It works, but it's relatively expensive, and more importantly, it's slow. What we really need is a small, portable, low-cost point-of-care testing technology that gives results in seconds or minutes rather than hours or days. Now, several medical device manufacturers are working on this, but it's a challenging problem. To keep it small and portable, well, samples and reagents have to be processed in very small volumes, essentially touch-free and in a way that avoids cross-contamination between tests. I spoke recently with Reggie Stotts and Don McNeil, two engineers at Parker who are working on this problem, and the consensus appears to be that the solution will take the form of a small, low-cost injection-molded plastic cartridge. Well, that cartridge will contain the reagents and small passageways to allow a sample solution to be moved into tiny reaction chambers. Not strictly microfluidics, but certainly very small-scale chemistry. The motive power for this will probably be pneumatic, using very small-scale pumps and valves. Once perfected, the beauty of such a device will be the ability to change cartridges and perform testing for different viruses and bacteria, making a point-of-care testing machine ideal for emergency rooms, walk-in clinics, or even first responders. If costs can be managed, the market for equipment like this could be very large, and it could persist after COVID has been tamed. And the size of the supporting markets for consumables such as reagents and injection-molded disposable cartridges, well, that could be even larger. If anything good can come out of the COVID-19 pandemic, it could be a new generation of accurate, low-cost, and fast point-of-care testing for multiple illnesses. In another sense, we've learned something else important during COVID-19, and that's about supply chains. 30 years into the just-in-time, highly efficient, and lean global supply chains that have reshaped manufacturing, we've discovered just how fragile they really are. Global shortages of personal protective equipment during the pandemic, they've created a sort of a cottage industry for additive manufacturing, with everyone from school kids to major OEMs using additive to make personal protective equipment. Andrew Wheeler has written an interesting article about an initiative in France led by a Paris-based surgeon, Dr. 𝗘𝗡𝗚𝗜𝗠𝗚, working with the Paris Hospital Authority, Assistance Publique Hôpitaux de Paris. Now, funded by the University of Paris and luxury consumer goods group Kering, the group built an additive manufacturing facility, basically a small factory next to a local hospital, running 24/7 to produce essential medical devices. Supply chain disruptions caused by COVID, well, they've affected more than just masks and face shields, and the new initiative called COVID-3D is using handheld scanners to reverse engineer existing resin medical devices like this suturing fixture and build them in real time. The parts are rendered by engineers using CAD software from 3D scans of existing equipment or from existing files, and handheld scanning technologies are used to check dimensional accuracy of the printed parts. Interestingly, European regulatory authorities, they've managed to create a legal framework for mass production of potentially patented designs in days, and the team of 50 engineers, developers, entrepreneurs, and doctors set up and launched the program in 10 days. They have a website, covid3d.org. Interesting, isn't it? It could take a decade to get a new fighter plane off the drawing board and into the air, 3 or 4 years for a new automobile, but with the right team and no red tape to slow them down, months or years become days. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time on This Week in Engineering.